This episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical and sexual violence against adults, children, and animals. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, I'm Tanya.
And I'm Talia.
And we are Crimes and Consequences, a true crime podcast. Hi Talia.
Hey Tanya.
Welcome back everyone to
Welcome back.
Another special episode of Crimes and Consequences. Before I begin, please hit the subscribe, follow, like, whatever. You know the drill.
I
mean, maybe this is your first episode.
Maybe.
And if so,
Probably not.
whatever app you're listening to, please follow us.
Yeah, I would.
I
do.
Me too. I have a story today unfortunately, it's about a child death. So I'm just preparing everyone. If you're extra sensitive to that, you might want to skip it. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll skip it.
All right.
No,
you'll skip it. You're going to stop listening.
No, I'm going to listen.
Okay. In the early hours of January 29th, 2009, kids across Australia were preparing for their first day back to school after the long school holiday break. By all accounts, this day would remain to be very average for many Australians. Children were struggling to wake up in the early morning after being able to sleep in for the last 6 weeks, so their holiday break is long. It's a lot longer than ours.
Nice.
Parents were pestering their children to wake up in order to get them ready for school, while also preparing for their day of work. Little did many Australians know that an event that would transpire on this day would shake the country for years to come. Although the school holidays were over, the scorching weather of an Australian summer was still in full effect.
I haven't been to Australia.
Me either. I'm hoping to go there someday.
But I bet it's hot.
I bet it's hot. Well, this day would reach temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, which is 104 Fahrenheit.
Oh, shit.
So it is hot.
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 And they've got that ozone problem.
Yeah. Don't we all, though? I wonder if it's a dry heat or if it's a humid heat, right? Does it matter at 104?
It's 104.
But even though it was so hot, it wouldn't put a hold on the return to school. It's like, you got to go. While some students wouldn't really be excited to go back to school, there was one little girl who was extremely excited for her very first day of school.
How old was she?
She was 4.
Yeah, she's excited.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's little Darcey Freeman. And she was over the moon about getting to finally go to her first day of school. She was born February 11th, 2004 to Arthur Freeman and Peta Barnes. Darcey was the middle child for this couple and the only girl in the family. She was described by family as a determined and strong-willed girl. Her older brother Ben, who was 6 at the time, and younger brother Jack, who was 2. She had 2 brothers. Like I told you, she was the only girl. She had an older brother Ben, who was 6 at the time, and a younger brother Jack, who was 2. Darcey absolutely loved her brothers, and she looked up to her older brother Ben.
Her parents had her hands full.
Oh my God, really? Seriously. The children all loved playing together, and they loved their parents very much. In June of 2008, Peta and Arthur separated, so the children had spent their school holidays split between their parents. The children had spent the end of their holidays with their father, Arthur. The end of the holiday break with Arthur. The night before their first day of school, the Freeman children were staying with their grandparents. To get the kids to school on time, Arthur had to wake them up bright and early, as the drive to school was about 128 kilometers away.
What?
Yeah, which is over 50.
What?
That's like 60 miles.
What? Oh, okay.
Because they were at their grandparents.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
The drive is going to take them an hour and a half.
That's long. Yeah, that's long.
It is. Eager for her first day and to see her mother at the school gates while she's dressed in her school uniform, Darcey jumped into the car with her brothers, and they got their seatbelts on, and they were on their way. The children were joking and playing in the back seat as Arthur was driving them. During the drive, Arthur seemed a little off. It was very apparent that something was on Arthur's mind, and the longer he drove, the more he was dwelling on whatever it was that was bothering him. The children didn't seem to take much notice in Arthur's behavior. They were just so distracted and occupied with each other that the strange behavior from their dad was the furthest thing from their mind. Little did they know that the day before, Arthur and Peta had attended family court to discuss custody arrangements.
Oh.
After much discussion back and forth, the custody arrangement went from equally shared 50-50 custody to Arthur getting the children for 3 days every second weekend, as well as the afternoon on a Thursday in the off week.
Oh, that's pretty much minimal parenting
Yeah.
time here in our county.
Mm-hmm. The verdict had really thrown Arthur for a loop. After being at the court, he made the drive back to his parents' place and got there around midnight. Arthur had been really stressed out over the court issue with his ex-wife, but he never would have guessed that he would have lost time with his children that he loved so much. He spoke to friends and told them he was really upset about not only the verdict, but the way he felt he was treated throughout the proceedings. He told his friends that although he was very upset about the verdict, he was happy that it was all over and he could get back to his life without this heaviness
Right.
being held over his head.
We know how that goes.
Absolutely.
We're divorce attorneys.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And podcasters.
When he got home, he was so distraught that he didn't want to speak to his parents about it. Arthur really couldn't think about anything else that night, and he continued to dwell on the fact that the court felt he was inadequate to look after his children. Yeah, he's seething. He woke up in the morning to take his kids to school, and his father could tell he was still upset. He tried to talk to Arthur about it, but Arthur was just dismissive, and he was at the point he still didn't really want to talk about it. His father then asked if he wanted him to come along for the drive to keep him company, but Arthur refused his father's offer. As Arthur continued on the long drive to get the kids to school, it's now rush hour. Rush hour started. Cars are starting to pile up.
I hate it.
Oh my God, it's terrible. The traffic was causing the drive to Hawthorne to take a little bit longer, and Arthur continued to think about this verdict from the day before.
He's pissed.
Oh, he is pissed. As more and more time passed, Arthur became more and more frustrated with the situation.
He should have hired us.
He really needed someone to talk to, so he decided to call one of his friends. And during this conversation, he just poured his heart out.
His kids are in the car?
Yeah, while his kids are in the car.
Okay.
He started crying and telling his friends that he had lost his children.
Oh, that's nice.
But he vowed to do whatever it took to get them back. After finishing this call, Peta called Arthur, and Peta's the ex-wife, the kid's mom, to see what time she should expect to see him and the kids at school. Arthur once again felt as if his ex-wife thought he couldn't look after his own children to get them to school on time. And he was offended.
She's trying to control him.
Yeah, she's trying to control him. So he started an argument with Peta. During the call, Arthur told her to say goodbye to her children, and he hung up on her.
Stop. I know where you're going with this. Stop it.
Yeah. Scared of what was happening, Peta called Arthur back and tried to talk some sense into him. Arthur wasn't having it and told Peta, you're never going to see your kids again. And he hung up on her a second time.
The kids are in the goddamn car.
Yeah, they're in the car. Peta had no idea what to think at this point, and she called her lawyers to tell them what Arthur had said. As Arthur continued his drive, all he could think about was how he was going to get back at his ex-wife for everything she had put him through.
I don't want to know what he does.
Arthur and the children came up to Melbourne's largest bridge, the West Gate Bridge. The bridge stretches across the Yarra River, connecting the city to the western suburbs of Melbourne. It stands about 190 feet from the river at its highest point and can see up to 200,000 vehicles going across it every day.
Wow.
The bridge opened in 1978, and it has seen some tragedy before. The bridge opened up in 1978, and during the construction, because it took a few years, during the construction in 1970, a section collapsed and killed 35 workers.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
what the hell?
It's already got a reputation.
Holy shit.
But because it was large, it quickly became the main road for many commuters as the years went on.
Yeah, you said 200,000.
Yeah, a day. That's a lot.
Holy cow.
The bridge was full from rush hour, giving Arthur more time to dwell on the situation with his ex-wife. Arthur then pulled over to the side of the bridge toward where it reached its highest point.
How do you pull over on the side of a bridge?
I know. There's got to be some...
I guess, but I would feel like I'm interrupting traffic somehow.
Especially on a bridge.
Yeah.
Bridges terrify me
right,
too.
Yeah, and at the top? Okay.
Oh, I start to hyperventilate.
Yeah, my mom's got a bridge phobia.
Yeah. I managed to drive over it. Like I drove over the Mackinac Bridge a few years ago and I was like, you know, my mom goes, just close your eyes.
Okay.
I was driving. Anyway, Arthur pulls over and he turns on his car hazard lights and puts the car in park. He turned to his children and told Darcey to come up to the front seat while he unbuckled her seatbelt. Arthur then grabbed her and got out of the car.
Tanya.
I know. Brace yourself.
Stop.
Other commuters on the bridge saw Arthur take Darcey out of the car, but they didn't think too much about it at the time, as he had turned his hazards on. You know, they're thinking maybe something's up. Others thought that Darcey was a doll, and she really didn't move and eventually didn't seem to struggle.
Why is a grown man taking a doll out of a car?
Yeah, I know, during morning rush hour, right? Arthur walked with Darcey to the side of the bridge, and without hesitation,
Stop it.
he threw Darcey over the 190 feet high bridge. Arthur then calmly went back to the car and started it up with the boys in the back seat and started to drive again like nothing had happened.
What? And they're like, what
I know, I'm sure they're freaking out.
What happened to Darcey, Dad?
Right. Many commuters who witnessed this horrible act started to flood the 000, that's Australia's 911, with calls frantic about what they had just saw. Very confused at what just happened, Darcey's brother Ben asked if he could sit in the front.
No, dude, no, you don't want to sit in the front.
So Arthur pulled over and Ben got in the front seat. Not fully aware of the severity of what just happened.
And Ben is 6, right?
Yeah, and Ben is 6. Ben told Arthur he had to go back for Darcey because she couldn't swim and, you know, she's in the water. We got to go back. Arthur ignored his child's pleas to help his sister and continued the drive to the Commonwealth Law Courts building where he had spent the previous day with his ex-wife in court. So we're no longer going to school.
We're going to court?
We're going to court.
What?
Once he got there, he parked his car, paid for parking, and then grabbed his boys out of the car and made his way into the building.
I love how he paid for parking. He doesn't want a ticket. He doesn't want a fucking ticket. He just threw his 4-year-old over a bridge.
Over a bridge.
But we don't want that ticket.
We don't want that ticket. Arthur, carrying his youngest in his arms and holding the hand of his eldest, tried to give his children over to the court security officer and said, "Take my sons." The security officer refused, and then Arthur started to crumble.
Like, what the fuck? What? Oh, okay, let me take your sons?
Yeah, what? He became unresponsive to security and his children, and he started to shake, whimper, and cry. The boys told the security guards their names and the names of their parents. Arthur was then taken into a separate room to be interviewed, but a psychologist deemed that Arthur was not in a state at this point to be interviewed.
Wait, they brought him into the court and there was a psychologist there?
Apparently.
And did anybody say, "Hey, my sister Darcey"?
I don't know. If the boys, you would think that Ben would be like, "Hey,
hysterical.
we got, yeah. I thought these kids would be hysterical." As the calls made their way from police to news outlets like the emergency calls, the story broke and left the citizens of Melbourne really confused. People who worked with the different news outlets thought it was fake. Police had gotten to the scene, and after being in the water for 15 minutes, Darcey was pulled out, and she was still alive.
What?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Officers who attended the scene performed CPR on little Darcey until the paramedics arrived, who then continued to perform CPR in the ambulance. Darcey was then taken to the Royal Children's Hospital as emergency workers continued to try and do whatever they could to save her life. Police officers drove to the school to find Darcey's mom to tell her the horrible news about her daughter and take her to the hospital. Little Darcey had endured head injuries, bruising, and severe internal injuries.
Yeah, it's like hitting cement.
Right. From that high up.
Yeah. How is she still alive?
I know. It's amazing.
She didn't drown?
Right. After 50, yeah. I mean, she'd have been in there a while.
She's young.
Yeah, she's young.
They survive more. I'd be dead in a second.
When Peta was at the hospital and she was informed how severe Darcey's injuries were, she had to make the hardest decision.
No.
For any parent to make.
No.
Yeah, she had to turn off Darcey's life support.
I thought you were going to tell me Darcey survived.
Oh, no, she didn't. I'm so sorry. I'm thinking she must have been brain dead at this point, right? At 1:35 p.m., Darcey Iris Freeman was pronounced dead while being cradled in her mother's arms.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
I know, this is terrible. After
Okay.
being arrested in the Commonwealth Law Courts building, Arthur told police officers about what transpired when he was on the bridge. He told police he was worried about being late for school. As he approached the Westgate Bridge, he started to feel anxious and trapped, like he wasn't going to make it to school on time. With the traffic on the bridge, his anxiety began to rise more and more, and he started to feel, he started to feel frustrated. I get that too. Traffic gives me such anxiety. Instead of a normal road rage of yelling or even hitting the dashboard, Arthur decided he was going to grab Darcey out of the car and throw his only daughter over the side of the bridge.
Can't he just be obnoxious and beep the horn at everybody and flip them off?
Yeah.
Just flip them off.
And tell everybody, like, let's fucking go, right? No, this is a weird decision. As the news spread throughout Australia of Darcey's death, Australians were left just confused as to how a father could throw his own daughter off this 190-foot high bridge to her death.
In the middle of rush hour. A
consensus among the public was that the only reason was because Arthur was a psychopath. A reporter who was interviewed for TV series Crimes That Shocked Australia told them that when people would ask her what she was currently reporting at the time, she would tell them she was reporting the case of Darcey Freeman, and people would tell her that they couldn't talk or hear about the story. It was just too upsetting.
Yeah, it is.
As Arthur's trial is getting ready to start, because obviously he gets arrested, Australians who were tuning into the case were eager to see Peta Barnes. Many wanted to show her support, as she would have to sit in court with her ex-partner who murdered their daughter.
Oh, man.
Peta Lee,
Tanya.
I know, right?
I would have to kill him.
Honestly, I don't know how anybody can keep their composure in times like this. Peta lived in Western Australia, so many people had no idea what she looked like, and she would have to travel from there for the court proceedings. When they began, people were eager to see Arthur because, I mean, what a freak, right? There was no hesitation in what he did. When Arthur turned up to court, people were shocked by the man who appeared before them. He looked disheveled and like a Rasputin, like mad monk. He had this hair.
Like Woody Harrelson on a really bad day.
A little like Phil Collins too, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. Not to disparage them, but a little bit. His hair was a mess. Yeah, his hair was a mess. You'll see photos if you go online.
Yeah, he's like bald, but it's male pattern baldness, and he has long hair.
Yeah, and it's just like all over the fucking place. His hair was a mess, and when he sat in court, he just sat there blankly, staring ahead without any emotion. He pleaded not guilty by reason of mental impairment. The prosecution made their arguments, telling the court that Arthur wasn't insane. He very clearly knew what he was doing when he pulled over. I mean, he put on his hazard lights, and then he grabbed Darcey and threw her over the bridge.
And he told his wife,
yeah, you're never going to see your kids again.
See him.
Yeah, they said he did it as an act of revenge against Peta due to their bitter custody battle.
Yeah.
Peta sat through every moment of the court proceedings. She didn't want to let Arthur see that his actions had gotten to her, so she sat completely composed during the entire trial.
Oh, God bless her.
She eventually testified against Arthur, telling the court about the relationship and the reason for their divorce. The court reporter told Crimes That Shocked Australia that when Peta testified, she was very poised and articulate. She carried herself well given the circumstances. The defense finally had a chance to tell the court their version of what caused Arthur to throw his daughter over the bridge that day. They told the court that Arthur had disassociated from the event, that he acted robot-like when he grabbed little Darcey out of the car and threw her to her death. The prosecution didn't believe this. They were like, this is fucking bullshit.
Is that exactly what they said?
That's what the prosecutor said. This is fucking bullshit, Your Honor.
That's our interpretation of what he said.
In fact, the prosecution had gone to 5 different psychologists to find some sort of reasoning as to why the events on January 29th occurred. All of them had agreed that Arthur fully understood what he was doing, and he knew right from wrong when he did it. He knew full well that not only could he have hurt his child by throwing her over the bridge, that he could also potentially kill her.
Potentially, yeah. It's a 190-foot drop into water, and she can't swim.
Mm-hmm. Let's see you jump into that water from that point.
No.
Oh, that's very high. That's giving me like anxiety just looking at it. One psychologist testified and said, quote, all of the observations of witnesses regarding his behavior on the morning of Darcey Freeman's death suggests that he knew the nature and quality of his conduct. Mr. Freeman continued to demonstrate that he was able to think purposefully about a situation and to continue to make reasoned judgments about both his own behavior and the behavior of others. Unfortunately, we do not know what Mr. Freeman was thinking at the time he threw his daughter over the rail of the Westgate Bridge. Nonetheless, there is minimal evidence to support a conclusion that at the time of engaging in conduct constituting the offense, Mr. Freeman was suffering from mental illness that had the effect that he did not know that his conduct was wrong. That is, that he could not reason with a moderate degree of sense and composure about whether the conduct, as perceived by reasonable people, was wrong.
He knew it was wrong.
End quote. Exactly.
He knew it was wrong.
The jury heard about the phone calls that Arthur was making during the drive. You know, those phone calls that he made to Peta?
Yeah.
He also made phone calls to his sister, telling her that he was worried about the kids' lunches and getting Darcey to school on time. But not once did his sister get the indication that something terrible was about to transpire. He then called his friend, who was living in the UK at the time, and told her about his court verdict the previous day and how it felt like he had lost his children. But he was fully prepared to fight the court as he was treated unfairly. He's making all these weird-ass phone calls. He claimed the court was full of angry women who were against fathers, which was the reason why he lost custody.
We hear that all the time.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I'm like, dude.
Yeah, they hate men. It's not true.
It's not true anymore. Maybe. It used to be.
They hate bad men.
Yeah, but
Horrible
now
people.
it's not true.
No, it's not true.
50-50.
He made no indication to his friend that he was going to murder his daughter. Then he received the first call from Peta, who was becoming increasingly worried that Arthur was running late to drop Darcey off on her first day of school. The prosecution felt that this call was the catalyst for the events that transpired next. Arthur started to feel the rage build up inside him and wanted Peta to feel the pain he was feeling. Arthur gave the warning to his ex-wife about what was going to happen only moments later. This warning to Peta...
That's the premeditation.
Yes, exactly. This warning to Peta showed the court that Arthur was clearly not mentally unstable and was fully aware of what he was about to do.
And you just pissed talking to her? And
yeah, he's like, this fucking bitch.
I'm going to get her.
Mm-hmm. They believe that Arthur didn't want to murder Peta, as that wouldn't have the desired effect he was going for.
Because he wanted to hurt her.
Yeah. If he killed one of their kids, it would cause tremendous pain to Peta for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Before I tell you more, we're going to take a break. Arthur continued to sit in court emotionless, as countless witnesses and professionals all testified against him. When the coroner described the injuries Darcey had sustained in the fall, Arthur finally broke down and cried as he listened to every single detail. This would be the only time Arthur would show any emotion during the trial.
So what were her injuries?
She had damage to her heart, a traumatic brain injury, and she had a collapsed lung. And the traumatic brain injury, also she lost oxygen and she was brain dead. And that's why her mother had to shut the life support off. A bit about Arthur's background came out during the trial. His childhood was really nothing to note. His father was a school teacher and his mother was a crossing supervisor. While he was in...
Crossing guard?
Yeah, crossing guard. While he was in primary school or elementary school, he had a hard time as he was bullied and he even received counseling because of it. As he reached high school, however, he was no longer bullied, so the remainder of his childhood seemed uneventful, like nothing to really suggest that he could have the potential to do this to one of his own children. He attended university where he studied aquatic science, but then he later transferred to a different school and studied computer science, where he eventually graduated with a bachelor's degree. Arthur married Peta in 1999, and it was reported that the couple was very happy. They would then move to the UK, where they purchased an apartment in London's north area. They gave birth to Ben, Darcey, and Jack in the UK. Peta was ready to move back to Australia so the children could go to school there. So they rented a place in Hawthorne. Peta went back to work, and Arthur was a stay-at-home dad who looked after the children all day.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. Peta and Arthur became unhappy with their relationship eventually, and it ended in March 2007 despite many attempts at counseling. They eventually divorced in June of 2008.
Was he a stay-at-home dad on purpose, or he just couldn't find a job?
Girl, I don't know.
Okay.
While these events may have been upsetting, nothing would have suggested to people who knew Arthur that he would murder his child just 6 months later. However, there are some things people didn't know about Arthur. No one knew what he was like behind closed doors. People described Arthur as a nice guy, and he was put together well. However, little did anyone know that Peta had reported to 3 different doctors that she believed Arthur was harming her children.
How?
She told one doctor that she felt he was so vengeful that he was going to kill her children just to get back at her.
Wow.
Another incident that Peta talked about was when she went to leave the house with her youngest son. Arthur grabbed him out of her arms and acted as if he was going to smash him into the fireplace.
What?
Peta's mother was at the house when this happened, and both Peta and her mother had to fight Arthur off when he wouldn't give his son over to Peta. Another instance of Arthur's aggression showed its ugly face when Arthur attended a social function in 2008, where he started to make threats against Peta if she tried to prevent him from having access to the children. So there were some red flags, but no one ever thinks this would happen.
Right,
though.
not this.
No. After 19 days, the trial came to a close, and the jury was sent to reach its verdict. It took the jury multiple days for them to come back with a decision because to them, this didn't seem so cut and dry.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're arguing about second degree versus first.
Yeah, maybe. They came back multiple times to ask the judge questions, and it was obvious that the jury just couldn't grasp what they needed to decide. The judge then posed the question as to whether Arthur deliberately killed Darcey or whether he was insane. The jury really struggled with the fact that though they believed he wasn't insane, they then felt that would mean he deliberately killed his child, and nobody really wants to think that. Arthur claimed he had no recollection of what happened, but his actions caused the death of Darcey, so that left the jurors conflicted about reaching a verdict. They eventually came back and told the court that they were deadlocked and couldn't make a decision. There were women in the jury that were clearly upset when they informed the judge they couldn't come up with a unanimous verdict, and some were crying. It was evident to everyone in the courtroom that there was some tension among the jurists. This started to worry people in the courtroom who wanted to see Arthur found guilty. The judge wasn't having any of it from the jury. It was 7 p.m., and most jurors go home at 4:30. When the judge told them, you're going to go back and you're going to make a decision, as he believed they could come up with a final decision. The judge rephrased the question without any legal jargon to help the jury understand the question better, and they were once again sent to come to a verdict. 14 minutes later, they had a verdict.
Oh, okay.
They were like, okay.
We're done.
They're like, we want to go home. I'm sorry, that's probably not true. It probably is, but it's probably not.
Oh.
In the name of justice, it's probably not true. The jury found Arthur Freeman guilty of murdering his daughter and that he had no mental impairment. A reporter told Crimes That Shocked Australia that after the verdict was read, she got into a taxi and just cried. She felt a sense of relief that Arthur was found guilty after what he did to Darcey, and that Darcey's family got the justice they deserved, and Arthur was going to be punished for his crime. As the sentencing hearing came around, Peta read a victim impact statement.
Oh, man.
And this was the only time she allowed herself to show how much the loss of her daughter really hurt her.
Oh.
She didn't want to give Arthur the satisfaction of the pain he caused until after he was found guilty. The judge would later repeat parts of Peta's impact statement when the sentencing came, as he wanted to reiterate to Arthur the magnitude of his crime. Quote, where to start is a challenge, as this statement brings to the surface all of the raw emotions I live with daily. Since the loss of Darcey, I grieve on a daily basis and realistically do not see how that can ever change. The saying time heals all wounds is not true for myself, and I don't ever expect it to be. Not a day goes by where I do not constantly think of Darcey, where I don't miss her and wish with all my heart that she was with me. I can feel her little hand holding mine when I walk down the street or drive in the car. I lie in bed at night and hold her in my arms. I talk to her and think of her daily, wishing she was participating in the activities that were happening at the time. No words could ever truly describe the loss of a child to a parent. The emptiness that sits with you, the piece of you that no longer exists, the fact that you no longer go on in life as a complete person. Seeing little girls who have similar traits or looks to Darcey heightens my already active emotions. Holding myself back from giving the child a hug is always a struggle of self-control. Not a day goes by where I don't flash back to the emotions I felt when I was told by my ex-husband that I would never see my children again. The panic and fear these words set off inside me resonates within me even today. I feel them now in incidents of my daily life that would not have impacted me prior to Darcey's passing. I notice that I have heightened anxiety in everyday situations and have to manage myself carefully to control this. End quote.
But she's got those 2 boys she's got to take care of.
Right.
I
want to cry.
Time heals all wounds. I don't think when
Not
it comes to losing a child.
No. Officers who were on the scene and found Darcey's body in the water have been diagnosed with PTSD and major depressive disorder. And many commuters that witnessed Arthur throw Darcey over the bridge had to receive counseling for the tragic event they witnessed. Many of those people wrote impact statements to the court to show the impact of Arthur's actions, like what it had on the community.
Yeah, because that bridge was crowded. I saw a picture
it was
of
crowded. You know, many of these people are just trying to get to work, and they're just never going to forget this day because of what Arthur did. On April 11th, 2011, Arthur was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum sentence of 32 years. The judge believed that Arthur was not beyond redemption, but needed to be punished for his heinous act. Arthur will be eligible for parole in 2041 when he will be 67 years old. Like many times we've seen before, this would not be the end for Arthur.
Wait, what's that mean?
Well, Arthur set out to appeal his sentence.
Oh, okay.
Believing that what he had been given was manifestly excessive.
Once again,
you're delusional.
Court is just bringing him down.
They're just, they're giving it to him once again.
Unfair.
Arthur's team felt that while the judge thought Arthur's depression at the time was moderate, he completely overlooked it, and it should have been considered high.
Okay, well, severe depression doesn't mean you throw a kid over a bridge.
Because he had high depression, his sentence should be reduced.
He should have, this sounds bad, but he could have killed himself.
Right. Yes.
Why?
But it wouldn't hurt Peta if he killed himself, right? Arthur's appeal was ultimately rejected on multiple grounds. There was nothing provided to the court that could prove that Arthur was in such a depressive state that he was unaware of what he was doing, is basically what the court decided.
Diminished capacity, right and wrong.
Mm-hmm. The previous judge said during his sentencing, quote, "I accept that your offending was not premeditated, but related to your increasing anger towards your former wife over the family court proceedings, exacerbated by you being late for Darcey's first day at school." It should be noted that Professor Burroughs, who was the psychiatrist called by the defense, did not doubt that you were angry at the time you killed your daughter.
Well, no shit.
I have no doubt that the resentment you bore your wife had been building for some time. End quote.
Yeah, he did it because he's pissed and he's anxious and he wanted revenge.
Yeah, for sure. He wanted revenge. He hated her. And she was taking away his kids, so he was going to take Darcey away from her.
But she wasn't even taking away his kids.
I know, she wasn't.
To see his kids.
And she didn't make the decision. The court did.
Mm-hmm.
While Arthur is living out a sentence in a maximum security prison, it is reported that he was involved in a prison brawl where he sustained minor injuries. Apparently, other inmates were constantly taunting him, which eventually resulted in him exploding at them. This then caused the inmates to start a fight with Arthur, and it would be a minute before the prison guard stepped in to break up the fight. Arthur and the other inmates in the fight were eventually separated across the prison to prevent another altercation. An inquest was conducted from statements made by Peta Barnes. Was this tragic event preventable? And is there anything we can learn from this? The focus of this inquest was mainly on Peta's appointments with her doctors, where she disclosed to them about the potential abuse her children were suffering and whether the doctors acted responsibly by not reporting the allegations to authorities.
But I don't think they have to report hypothetical.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not going to see your children again. Now, if he said he was going to kill them.
Right. That's true. He didn't say that.
But he didn't say that.
The inquest heard that the police did attend a domestic dispute between Peta and Arthur in 2007. The police were aware of some instances of concern, so the doctors felt that they didn't need to report the allegations to police as they were already aware of them.
And that's why he didn't get joint custody.
Yeah, exactly right. The doctors felt there were no indicators at the time that would suggest that Arthur would hurt his children. One doctor said that even in hindsight, he had no idea what Arthur was going to do.
He did threaten to throw a kid in a fireplace, though, right?
He didn't threaten it. He acted like he was going to do it.
Oh.
Yeah. Arthur always seemed to appear well put together and calm, so...
Not in the pictures I saw of him.
That was during the trial, though. After Darcey's death, there were a spike in suicides off the Westgate Bridge, which could have been prevented, I guess, if there was some talk of putting more barriers up on the bridge, but...
Higher ones.
Higher ones. The Westgate Bridge now has...
Or they have nets.
Oh, yeah, you're right, they do.
Down on a bridge, so you go jump.
And the net catches you.
Yeah. Well, then you could always jump off the net.
It's true. Aren't they? They're kind of hard to get out of, though, I think.
I'm just saying. Yeah. There's a will, there's a way.
That's true. The Westgate Bridge now has safety barriers to prevent anyone from jumping off the bridge or being thrown off. Many Australians still feel great sadness when they hear Darcey's name or see the Westgate Bridge. It is unclear how Darcey's family is currently doing, but I hope they're doing well.
I do too.
And they're able to remember Darcey for the beautiful little girl that she was and not for her death.
When did this happen? This wasn't that long ago, right?
No.
10 years ago?
2009.
Her poor brothers.
I know.
Like, how do you...
I know.
Get over that?
How do you get over that?
I don't know.
And that's my terrible, sad story about little Darcey Freeman.
Don't like those kind of stories.
I know.
It's
very, very sad and horrible. And it's just, how can you do that? How anybody could do that?
He snapped.
Yeah.
He lost it.
Definitely. Talia, before we get into our business, would you like to do some Review the Reviewer?
Oh my gosh, we haven't done that in so long.
Oh my God. Well, we've gotten some 2-star reviews recently.
Okay. Well, I have to go from sad to pissed off.
Yeah, and they're mostly about me, so you're going to enjoy this.
Oh, what? Why would
I'm just kidding. You won't.
Why would I enjoy it? I want to beat them up.
You.
I want to beat them up.
Okay, this one was left on August 7th, 2023 by Chris Jesse Jake. And it's 2 stars, and the title is Used to Be a Fan.
Oh.
I used to love the show, but I feel like every time I listen, it gets cornier.
Cornier?
Tanya needs to go.
What?
He
needs to fucking go.
All the oh my gods and seriouslys, and she just piggybacks on whatever Talia says.
You are real.
Yeah,
like
I'm
when
sorry,
I'm having a
that's
normal
my
conversation
reaction.
with Tanya, she talks exactly the same.
I have no idea how in the world she's an attorney.
What?
She seems to have like half a brain.
What the motherfuck?
Yeah. Fuck this person.
He needs to fuck off.
Yeah. Chris Jesse
He
Jake.
gets 1 star. No, he gets no stars, and he gets a big fuck off.
Chris Jesse Jake can lick my nuts, okay?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, he's lucky he's not in front of me right now.
Yeah. We have another one.
Okay.
2 stars.
I don't like these.
This was left July 31st, 2023 by 858 Mia.
Okay, 858 Mia.
I've been listening for a long time, but the past 5 or so episodes, I've had to stop them midway. I can't finish. It sounds like they are reading directly from a script, and it's their first read through.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
The constant, oh my God, and seriously, throughout the story are obnoxious, and they sound forced and fake.
They're not forced and fake.
No, they're definitely not.
For fuck's sake! Oh my God!
Right? Like, what is your reaction when you hear a horrible story?
Like she's getting thrown off the bridge.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Oh my God! All right, I'm gonna have to think of something else. I'm going to have new natural reactions.
It's me and not you. So It's like the host gave up or are no longer into true crime. So they're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but I have to stop listening.
Oh, okay. Well, you can also fuck off.
Yeah, you can also fuck off.
And fuck off some more when you're done fucking off. Fuck you.
Then there's a 5-star. So we're going to do some good ones now.
Okay.
To end on a high note.
Or something nice.
So July 24th, JBT Mom said, Addicted, 5 stars.
To what?
I really love this podcast. Great host chemistry, lesser known cases and victim focused. Checks all the boxes for true crime junkies. Then August 5th.
Wait, I love her.
Oh, yes, I love her. She gets 5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars across the board.
Yep.
Right? We love you. We love you, JBT Mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It was very nice of you to leave a nice review.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Seriously?
Then on August 5th, Jazzy Girl 66, she gave us 5 stars. She said, I came across you recently and have been binging from episode 1.
Oh.
I love it! Exclamation point, exclamation point. I'm with Tanya. I hate people and none of the killers deserve a second chance.
Whoa, shit.
I know, I'm kind of hard on people.
I mean, I hate people, but I mean, I'm just saying, sometimes redemption.
Love the fact that you ladies can talk honestly and you don't care about what anyone has to say.
No, we don't give a fuck
No.
except her.
Yeah.
I like what she had to
I
say,
know,
and I
that
care
was
about
very
that.
sweet. We
I
love
like
you.
that. We love you. You don't need to fuck off because
No.
we like you a
We
lot.
love you,
We
Jazzy
think
Girl 66.
Yeah, we do.
That was lovely.
The other 2-star people can go fucking kiss my ass.
Kiss mine too, and go find a different podcast. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, go.
If you don't like the way I talk or the things I say, sorry for being real. Would you rather me sit here like a robot?
You know who's scripted? Oh, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say their
Not gonna
name.
say.
But maybe she could listen to them.
Yeah. At least they don't say, oh my God, and seriously.
Seriously.
Do I really say it that much?
We
I
do
must.
We both do it all the time. Sometimes we say seriously at the same time. Seriously.
Seriously? I know. Just sorry.
Well, you know what? Like I said, now I'm pissed. I'm really pissed about those 2 stars, especially the one that's trying to hurt my friend, because Tanya's my friend.
I know. But it doesn't hurt my feelings.
If I knew where he was at, I'd slash his tires and run really fast away. And maybe key his car. I don't know.
Maybe
Put
we could do it together.
my dog shit on his mirror or windows or whatever.
Or, yeah.
But
something.
I wouldn't do that. It's illegal. But I might do it if I could. I wouldn't. But
Fantasize about it.
I could.
You
never know if I had enough alcohol.
Right.
What I might do.
So that was our segment review, the reviewer.
Yes. Well, I don't like those people.
Yeah, those people can fuck right off.
But I love the other 2, so.
Absolutely. And there's lots of other really great ones. We do the review of the reviewer usually when there's a bad review that comes by because
we hate them.
Because we hate them and I need to vent a little bit. And,
somebody needs to tell them to
if
fuck
I need
off.
to go, Talia really doesn't want to do the show with just on her own.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'll be like, hey. So then she jumped off, got thrown off a bridge.
Maybe.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, maybe you could do both.
Yeah, like it just, what? No fucking way, Talia. Yeah, way. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no.
Fuck them.
Anyway, before we go, we'll just do the business now. You
Business
can
time.
find our website, crimesandconsequences.com. You can find out information there about becoming a Patreon member, or you can go to patreon.com/TNTcrimes, like dynamite. And becoming a Patreon member means that if you sign up for the highest level, you can get an extra episode every week that's unreleased to the public. You also get ad-free and early release of our normal weekly episodes. So
yes.
If you want to check that out, go to either our website or patreon.com/TNTcrimes.
TNT Crime.
You can find us on social media at Hardcore True Crime.
Hardcore True Crime.
On Facebook and Instagram, even though we haven't been active on that
No, we
much.
haven't.
One day we will.
Someday.
I'm sorry, but life has been horrible these past
Life's
several
a
months.
pisser.
Yes, so I'm sorry.
Life's a real big pisser.
Yeah. And I think that's everything. So until our next episode,
Don't kill each other.
bye.